This is an 8-week class, and it's something that the Memphis Bar Association has never done because we're looking at doing something to help professionals develop in all areas, all aspects of life, not just learning new CLE skills. All that's important, but this is really about how we can live life more fully, more happily, more joyfully, and from a place of strength and something that gives us meaning and purpose. An essential part of living from our strengths and our values is developing a mindfulness practice. And in doing that, what we learn to do is we quiet the outer mind, our stressful mind, and we go into our inner world. Our inner world is where we make meaning of what's going on and where we gain some visibility to those values and strengths that are within us. Then we learn to apply it throughout our daily living, where we can allow ourselves to be then at a place of choice for how we really want to show up in the world. Talk about living from our values, we're talking about tapping into a deeper reservoir of natural strength that we have within us because we're living from a place of what really gives life meaning and what we deem to be like essential to our purpose, our sense of why we're here on earth and why we're living our life. When we do that, when we tap into that strength, then we also tap into a great well of courage. Interesting about the word courage, the root word for courage comes from the French word coeur, which means heart. So that courage actually means when we are moving and living from our heart, our values, our sense of purpose, then we've got the courage to show up in the world the way that we really want to show up. This is about is the title of it is Living from Your Strengths, from Survive to Thrive. And it's based on scientific developments that have occurred over the last probably 30 to 40 years, but particularly in the last 20 years in the field of positive psychology. And I want to make a point of saying that this is real science. It's not pseudoscience. It's not, things that are based on kind of airy-fairy concepts or whatever. This is real science that has evolved into a way to look at us as human beings rather than trying to fix what may be wrong, but instead looking at how we can move toward what's right and living the very core and the essence of our being. What are those things that really motivate us? What are those things that inspire us and make us want to move forward in life? The first thing we have to do is begin identifying those. When we begin to identify them, then we know what they are, then we can build on them, and then we identify what our talents are. We're already using some of our natural talents. When we identify those, identify what our natural values are, then we've got visibility to that. And then we can begin building on that and make it into a regular practice of living from that rather than always feeling like we've got to push the boulder up the hill, because when we live from our values, they begin to pull us forward. Learned is that we truly are a work in progress. Trial and error is how we learn. So we're gonna make mistakes, and the thing we have to do is learn from them. And then knowing that those mistakes and our adversities that we encounter can really be our biggest teachers. When we learn from those, then we develop wisdom, and that wisdom becomes our light on our particular path, not somebody else's, but our own. And then fully living means that we're going to have to push up against our comfort zone. We can't always stay in just what feels good. We have to push outward like that. And practice makes progress. Perfection is the enemy of doing what's good enough in the moment. And what we need to focus on is not perfection, but doing what's good enough right now. And in doing that, we make progress. In a good frame of mind, and then we get to the office and there's an email from the client or a phone message from opposing counsel or something like that, and the day begins to go awry from what we had hoped it would be. So what do we do about that, and how do we deal with those adversities? Well, what we have to realize is that those parts of us that are coming up that begin to freak out, activate our stress response system and, in fact, our survival response system. And that's when we go into a level of stress, and naturally it's geared toward protect us. It's like we're looking for self-protection, and what do we need to do? Do I need to lash out at that person, or maybe that may not be the best thing to do? Do I need to hide? Do I need to run and hide and say, oh my God, I'm just going to avoid this? The truth of it is that no, we find a way to look at that. First of all, calming down our stress response system, and then being able to look at it in a greater state of awareness, and bringing ourselves back to a place of choice rather than being reactive and reacting from our built-in defense mechanisms. But in order to do that, we have to first bring awareness as to what we're doing, and that begins with the first thing is stopping and taking a nice deep breath. So I hope y'all will come out and join us. It's going to be fun. We're going to do some things for 2 hours a week for a period of 8 weeks, and you're going to learn skills that you can apply across the board in your life, not just your law practice, but I assure you, your law practice will benefit and your level of happiness is going to go up.